So hello friends, welcome back, and in this video we are going to see about the modular properties, and we will see the fast exponentiation. We will see fast exponentiation recursive method, the bit method, and the most efficient method which you will use actually in programming. We will see in the next video. For now, like understanding fast exponentiation is also very important, especially the recursive method as well. Then we will also do a bit add-on addition of fast exponentiation with modulo. Now, the starting with the modulo properties, which are very important. So as we know that we have four major operations which are plus, minus, multiplication and divide. So if I need to compute a plus b mod m, then what I will do, I will take individual modulo of these numbers a and b, which is right here. Then I will add those result and again do the modulo of the whole result which I obtained. If I want to do a minus b mod m, then I will do a mod m minus b mod m, then I will add m. Now you might ask, why are you adding m? Let's suppose I have a number 15. 15 minus 11 mod 3. If I need to find out this. Now if I do the individual modulo, which means I do 15 mod 3 and 11 mod 3, so it will result me in 0, it will result in me in 2. Now 0 minus 2 is minus 2. So actually the result I wanted was positive, but here it converted to negative because modulo might reduce the number, and the number it can be reduced to any extent. So as to make the result positive again without affecting the answer, I will add m. Now why I am adding m and why it will not affect my answer? Because as we know that m mod m is always 0. So adding or subtracting any multiple of m, and after adding or subtracting any multiple and doing mod, I will not affect my answer at all. So as to make your answer positive, in worst case if it becomes negative, so it will become positive again, and so as to maintain your integrity of the solution. Now if I have a into b mod m, so same as we do above, that individual mod, then multiplication of that, which means the original operation which I used to do, then again mod m. If I need to do a upon b mod m, then a mod m into b inverse mod m. Now b inverse is not simply inverse, it is the modular multiplicative inverse. Now we will study deeply about the modular multiplicative inverse in the number theory video, because there we will study about the multiplicative inverse in detail. But for this video, you need to learn that B inverse is not the simple inverse, it is the modular multiplicative inverse. Then at last what I do, I just do mod m. Now what is actually a modular multiplicative inverse? A slight hint of that is that if I have a number like 6 into y mod 7 is equals to 1. Now I can also write it as 6 into y, which results in 1 after doing a mod with 7. So I can say that y is called the multiplicative inverse of 6 with mod 7. Y is the multiplicative inverse of 6 with mod 7. See, earlier we used to study multiplicative inverse as anything which are multiplying with any number result in a number 1. But here we added a modulo term. So I will only add the modulo in last, which means that if y is called the multiplicative inverse of 6 with mod 7. Very fine. So here y is called the modular multiplicative inverse. Now we will study its complete use cases and everything in number theory part, but for now the major important thing for you to remember is these above three properties, because these three will be used a lot. Now let's move on to the exponentiation part. Now what is actually exponentiation? Now if you want to compute x raised to power y, then how you compute it and how efficiently you compute it, it is studied under exponentiation part. For example, if you want to compute a raised to power n, which means that you want to compute 3 raised to power 5. So naively if you think, then you will multiply 3 5 times. So it will take of n time, which means that you will multiply 3 3 3 3 3 up till the n times. So can we do better than n? Which means that is there anything we can observe that okay, how it is being multiplied and we can do better than n? So let's see. See, a number which is the exponent, which is n, as I say that I have a raised to the power n, so the exponent n, it can be either even or odd, right? See, any number can be either even or odd. So let's see. What if it is even? Which means that let's take an example, small example of 3 raised to the power 4. So 3 into 3 into 3 into 3 into 3. Now you can clearly see that I make a bunch which is same. Now you might ask, Rn, okay, you are making a bunch which is same, but actually these all the numbers are same. So what's the meaning of bunch here? So see, earlier if you need to find 3 raised to the power 4, so what you were worrying about is 3 raised to the power 3 and then you are multiplying by 3. Now to find 3 raised to the power 3, what you were doing is you were worrying about 3 raised to the power 2 and then multiplying by 3. For finding 3 raised to the power 2, your worrying was 3 into 3, right? Now it's the end. So for finding 3 raised to the power 4, you are worrying about the just previous state, which means 3 raised to the power 3. So for finding the nth power, you are worrying about the n minus 1th power. So it was taking O of n time. Now I am saying that you don't need to worry about the last power. You will worry about the half power, which means that if you clearly see that 3 into 3 into 3 into 3, so I can break this whole thing in two bunches, which means the bunch right here and the bunch right here. As I can clearly see that these bunches are same. So if I can find the value of any one bunch, I will multiply the same value with the other bunch, which means that I will multiply the same value to the bunch itself. So I will find the result. So instead of worrying about the condition right here, which I was earlier doing, I will worry about the half, which means that to find, let's suppose if I want to find 3 raised to the power 8. So I will only worry about 3 raised to the power 4 finding, because I know that I will multiply by 3 raised to the power 4 again. So for 3 raised to the power 4, I will worry about 3 raised to the power 2, because I know that I will multiply by 3 raised to the power 2 again. For 3 raised to the power 2, I will worry about 3 raised to the power 1 only, because I know that I will multiply it by again. So I see that there is an observation that I can break my whole thing in two bunches and I will find the answer for one bunch, and I will, with the help of the bunch right here, I will find the answer for the whole number. Now you can clearly see that if I have this bunch, so I again have this, so I need to find the answer for this. So I have two things right here, which means that I will find the answer for one and I will multiply the same thing to itself so as to get the answer. So I will just work on this, and from this I will move on to this, and from this I will move on to this. So as you can clearly see that earlier I was breaking my condition from n to n minus 1. Here I was breaking my condition to n by 2. Thus earlier my complexity was O of n. Now my complexity is reduced to O of log n to the base 2, because I am reducing my sub problem to half rather than the linear one. Thus you can clearly say that okay, I am reducing my complexity from O of n to O of log n. Now you might say that okay, I was breaking my condition to half, but it was even number, so I was doing that. But what if the number is odd? So if the number is odd, you know that if any number is odd, let's erase this. Time ho gaya yaar, upload karni hai video. Now as I said that for even case I can reduce the number by 2, because I know that the number is even and it can be divided by 2. But what if the number is odd, which means that if the number is 5, I cannot reduce it by 2. So what I will do is that I will extract the last number and the remaining number will be even. Now I can operate on my even number. So extracting the last number is just one operation, which means that if I have the 3 raised to the power 5, then I will just extract the last number, which means that I have 3. Now the remaining 4 3's, I will operate on this 4 3's, which means that I will operate on this, and it has become the same problem which I studied earlier. So for odd, what I will do is that if I have a raised to the power b, then I will have 1a and then the remaining problem which will be same as that of this, which means that I will compute on a raised to the power b minus 1. Here b minus 1 is actually even. Now as here I was saying that a raised to the power b, here b was actually even, so I need to compute my a raised to the power b by 2 and multiply the same thing, which is a raised to the power b by 2. Thus I will do the same thing here as well. I will do a into then a raised to the power b minus 1 by 2 into a raised to the power b minus 1 by 2. Now you will understand it much better after seeing below thing. Now as you can see that every time I'm reducing my sub problem to half, so it's nearly log n time. Now why I'm saying nearly? Because actually I'm using recursion and some computation is also required in recursion. So it's not exactly log n, which means that it can be just more than it. But yeah, you would be good to go with it. Now, if your b is even, then you are clearly sure that you can reduce your problem to half. Now, to compute the power of a raised to the b, you know that you can compute it by power of a raised to the power b by 2 and power of a raised to the power b by 2, and you can just multiply them. Now, for a raised to the power b, if it is odd, then you know that you need to extract one a and the remaining problem would be nothing but earlier which I showed you. Right. Now, here I had not write -1 because 5 upon 2 is actually 2, right? Because we take the floor value when we simply divide the number. So, it's just a floor value. Now, I am writing the same thing again and again, which means that I am writing the same thing here as well as here, which means that I am computing the same thing again, which I was saying above that you need not to compute the same thing again. Although I am doing it by half, but still I am computing the same thing again. So I can still optimize this much further, which means that I can memorize this part, because see, either I will go on here or here, but as you can see on both the cases, I am computing my same thing again. So I can just memorize that part. See, if you are not understanding the word memorize, then you can watch the starting 2-3 videos of DP and you would be good to go. But for more understanding, or you can say for better understanding, memorize is something that we learn that, okay, I will store its value and I will just place the values so that I will not compute it again and again. So I will just do one thing to optimize it much further. I will memorize this part, which means that I will store the power of a raised to the power b by 2 in a variable called val, and instead of using this recursive function, I will just use this val value, which means that I will just multiply my number val, and here as well I will just multiply my a by val and val. Thus, as you can clearly see that I will obtain my answer. So it is the very efficient way of computing the exponent, but the only drawback is I'm using recursion, which means that I'm using call stack, which means that it will use extra space in the memory. So to avoid that extra space, we can use the bit method of fast exponentiation, which we will see in the next video. But for now, you should understand that, okay, it is actually how it works. Now, as you can clearly see that it takes log n time, but it takes extra space due to recursion, or you can say the call stack. So we can optimize this by using bits, and we will see that in the next video. Now, the proper code for you which you can refer is this, that return type I will have my long int, or you can also have int as well, if you know that, okay, the exponent will not exceed your int limit. Although for safety in the CP programs I use long. Now long a and long b, if your b is 0, then you will return 1. Then you will have the value variable. Then the value variable will compute the power of a raised to the power b by 2, because you know that you are going to use this again and again. Then I will just say, okay, if my b mod 2 is 0, then I will just return my val into val, and else I will just return my a into val into val. Now, if you are not much familiar with recursion, then it would be a pretty bit tough to realize, okay, how actually it is working. But in the last video, in the last video, and in the DP video as well, I have actually showed you, okay, how the recursion works and a bit intuition of that. So for that, if you're not familiar with recursion, so go watch that starting 2-3 videos and you will be good to go. Now you can clearly see that, okay, I am calculating my exponent and I'm doing it very good. But the only drawback was that I was using extra space. Okay, no worries. We will resolve this in the next video. But for now, we also know that exponents are pretty much big. And so usually what you will find is that you will need to compute your exponent mod m, which means that instead of computing a raised to the power v, you will be set to compute a raised to the power b mod some modular number, which means that what you will be set to do is that you will be set to compute a raised to the power b mod p, where p is any number, mostly it is prime, but it can be anything. Now, As we learned above, the modular property of multiplication, which is a into b mod m, is nothing but individual modulo and multiply operation and then mod m. So I will use this property to compute my a raised to power b mod m. Now how? See, I will do the same thing. I will just write this extra function which results me the multiplication in the modulo way. I wrote the same thing, that if I have two numbers a and b and if I want to do its modulo m, so the function will return me its modulo multiplication, which means that it will just simply do the modulo of these two numbers individually, multiply it and then again do the modulo with m. Very fine. Now I wrote the same code here which I wrote above. The only thing which is different in this is that the thing I used to multiply with my hands, that value into value, I'm just using my function to multiply, which means that the function will be used like this. So instead of multiplying the numbers raw, I will use the multiply function which will do multiplication modularly, right? Thus the next thing would be, as I was multiplying three numbers a into, as you can see that I was multiplying a into val. So firstly I will modularly multiply val into val, then the result which I obtain, I will modularly multiply a into the result. So I will obtain my result which is by doing modulo. So you can clearly see that I just did val into val multiplication and the result obtained is right here. Then I did a into the result modular multiplication. So you can clearly see that we are also able to compute a raised to power b mod m as well, which means that modulo any number. Now, as in this video we learn about the fast exponentiation with modulo and integrating these as well. In the next video we will see fast exponentiation with the space optimized way. So let's wait for the next video, and it will be very good approach, and you will use only that code whensoever you need to compute your fast exponentiation. So yeah, it's all from my side, and see you in the next video. Until then, be happy and keep coding. Bye.